We had our revenue, how much they make. They make $20 times the number of basketballs they sell, number of customers. How much it costs the company per month is $7 per basketball plus $72,000 of fixed costs. All right, now to graph, remember this m and y equals mx plus b is your slope. So it's 20 over 1 and 7 over 1. And then you don't have a y-intercept here, it's just 0. So your b is your y-intercept. And you have a y-intercept here, it's 72,000, so it's really large. So if I were to graph this one, my y-intercept is 0. So it crosses the y-axis, my line will cross the y-axis at 0. My slope is 20 divided by 1 because it's over 1. So I go up, let's say this is 10, 20, 30, 40. I go up, positive, it's going to go up, so I go up 20 and over to the right one. And I go up from there, 20 and over 1. So I start my y-intercept, which is 0, and I do rise over run. So my slope is 20 over 1, which is rise over run. So I'm going to go up 20 over 1, up 20 over 1, and I have my line. Now this one is huge. So the y-intercept is 72,000. So that's way up here, way up here. And the slope is 7, up 7 over 1, up 7 over 1. So these are hard to graph in a way that you can actually see what's going on. Let me think what the best way to do this is. So I'm going to graph this one separately first. A different scale. This one's really steep. So we're going to say this is like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. And the slope is only 7, so it's very steep. It's almost straight. So these two lines will eventually intersect, because if I put this line over here, they'll eventually intersect somewhere down here in the negative. Okay, so you can play around with the scales and try to get them on one graph. You can also graph them on your calculator, or you can graph them online. There's usually some sites you can graph equations online. If you want to make the graphing easier, finding a company whose fixed costs are smaller would really make it easier to graph. So for instance, had my fixed costs been like 20, I could have graphed it on here. So my y-intercept would have been 20, and I would have had to go up 7 over 1, up 7 over 1, and I would have had a line that looks more like this. And they would have fit on the same graph. So it's just something you can look for when you're looking for companies. Okay. So number 3, use this information and the relationship between revenue, cost, and profit from problems 1 and 2. Find the linear relation that you would expect to model profit. Okay, so how would you model profit? So let's just talk about that real quick. And then I think the other 2 questions, they're just kind of you thinking about your research and your math and if it makes sense. I'll show you how to set this up at least. So the third problem, think about it. You have your 2 equations. This represents your profit. You're charging $20 per 1 basketball. So if you sell 10 basketballs, you're going to make 10 times 20, which is $200. okay? That's what this equation is. How much money do you make, your profit? You also have how much it costs to make basketballs. Well, it costs you $7 per basketball plus your $72,000. So if you sell 10 basketballs, it's going to cost you $72,070. That's how much it's costing you to make 10 basketballs, and you're only profiting $200. That sounds terrible. I would not want to go into that business. However, Spalding makes thousands and thousands of basketballs per month. Possibly millions. I don't even know. So once the number of basketballs gets high enough, you're going to start profiting. So where is that threshold? Well, one way to figure out that threshold is to set the equations equal to one another. So when do my costs equal the amount I profit? Let's figure out that number. To do that, we'll just set the two equations equal to one another. If you notice here, I have y equals 20x. I also have y equals 7x plus 72,000. Since both of these are the same, y equals 20x, but y also equals 7x plus 72, I can set these equal to one another because they both equal y. They must both be the same thing. So I can do 20x equals 7x plus 72,000 and solve for x. So remember, x represents the number of basketballs. So how many basketballs do I need to sell in order to make enough profit where I break even? Let's solve. Subtract 7x. We get 13x equals 72,000. Divide by 13. Let me see. I can't do that in my head. Okay. So I get 5,539 basketballs. What this means is if I sell 5,539 basketballs, the cost of making these many basketballs will equal the amount of money I make. So I'm going to break even. I will make no money, but I won't lose any money. So what that means is if I want to profit, I'm going to have to sell more than 5,539 basketballs. So I will need to sell more than that. Now, how many more you want to sell depends on how much profit you want to make. So you can do some calculations and figure out if you want to make $50,000 a year, how many basketballs you need to sell, etc. How would you figure that out? Well, you would plug this x in. You could plug this x in, and they should both equal the same. So if I plug y equals 20 times 5,539 in, I get my profit, how much I make, I make $110,780. Well, how much does it cost to make those many basketballs? What's 7 times 5,539 plus 72,000? The same thing. So 7 times I get the same thing. So see, it cost me the same amount of money to make those basketballs as it did for me to profit. But I could increase the number of basketballs to 10,000. Let's say I sell 10,000 basketballs. I'm making $200,000 a year. How much did it cost me to make 10,000 basketballs? It only cost $142,000 to make 10,000 basketballs. And I made $200,000. So I made a profit of 200,000 minus 142,000. Which is $58,000. All right, so it looks like question 4 and 5 are kind of hopefully ones you can answer on your own. It's kind of a lot of math, and I also didn't spend a lot of time prepping, so it may be a little confusing. Just email me and let me know if this helped at all, and if it didn't, I can come up with a simpler model and practice it a little more before I try to explain it. Just let me know. Just be honest and let me know if it was helpful or not. If it's not helpful, it's okay. Just let me know. All right, bye, Jordan.